When Monica fell ill, Bill was by her side every day. He cared for her and made sure she never felt alone. But when things got worse and Monica didn't seem to get better, things started to change. He visited her less and less until one day her sister dropped a bombshell on her. Bill was seeing another woman. After that, Monica never saw Bill again. But little did she know, Bill had one more thing to do after his wife's passing. But before we start, make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Bill and Monica had been living a happy and healthy life when Monica suddenly fell ill. It happened gradually, with headaches and fatigue at first. Billy stood by her side during this time, but no matter how many times they went to the hospital or how many different medications she tried, nothing seemed to help. Monica lost her job, her life, and some of her friends to this awful, mysterious disease. But through it all, Bill stayed by her side and visited her every day at first. Monica felt grateful for Bill's love and care and often wondered how she got so lucky. But after months of staying at the hospital and not getting better, something started to change. Bill stopped by less and less, each time with another excuse ready. At first, Monica understood that he was under a lot of pressure as the sole provider of the family, but there was more. But deep down, Monica could understand why he acted like this. It wasn't easy being married to a sick person. That was until one day, her sister came to visit her with some very disturbing news. Bill was not being honest. Monica's sister Isabella had caught Bill sleeping with a woman when she visited him unannounced to catch up on Monica's health. Monica couldn't believe what she was hearing and wanted to get up and go to Bill immediately, but she became lightheaded and had to lie down again. Isabella was heartbroken and wanted to let Bill know what he had done. Overcome by her emotions, she drove to Bill's house and banged on the door. With tears streaming down her face, she yelled at him, telling him about Monica and hospice care. Bill was visibly shocked by Isabella's sudden outburst and tried to calm her down, but he couldn't. To finish it off, Isabella threw the bill for hospice care in his face, telling him he had to pay for what he'd done. But little did she know, Bill had something else in mind. As soon as Bill knew Monica was dying, his mind started racing. The one thing he had waited for since he met his new girlfriend, Emma, was finally happening. He knew that as long as he was still legally married to Monica, her inheritance and life insurance would be his to take. You see, when Bill realized Monica's health was only getting worse, he tricked her into signing a document she thought was her agreement to stay in the hospital. But little did she know, she actually signed a change in her will, created by Bill, making him the sole receiver of the inheritance. All Bill had to do now was wait a few more months until he could live the life he had always dreamt of living. And the worst part was, he didn't even feel bad about it in the slightest. He even told his mistress about his devious plan. Isabella had kept the death of her sister a secret from him, and probably because she was left out of the will, had taken Monica's car. He knew she wouldn't make it easy for him to get his hands on the inheritance, so he had to take precautions. He immediately called his attorney and set up a meeting. He wanted certainty. His attorney told him to gather all the important documents like his wife's death certificate, her will, bank statements, and her insurance policies. Bill went home for the night. The next morning, he was on his way to the lawyer's office with all but one of the documents he needed, but he figured he would go anyway. How important could that final piece of information be? Well, very. Once he arrived at the lawyer's office, he sat in an empty room. "He will be with you shortly," was what the lovely young secretary said to him 45 minutes ago. "There was an important matter in your case that needed Mr. Hopfman's immediate attention. He will be with you as soon as everything is sorted out." And the secretary walked away, closing the door behind her. Bill was stunned. If he's busy with my case, why aren't I involved too? He thought. Luckily, the wait wasn't as long this time. After 15 minutes, he heard people talking and walking in the direction of his room. It was clearly Mr. Hopfman. But who was the woman he had a conversation with? "Hello, Isabella?" She had tracked him down. But this time, Bill knew he was one step ahead of her. Since Monica was already dead, her will couldn't be changed anymore. So no matter how hard Isabella tried to fight it, Bill would eventually inherit all their family's money. Or so he thought. Because Isabella had one more trick up her sleeve, and Bill would never see it coming. She sat down at the table across from Bill, and the lawyer sat at the head of the table. "Bill, before we proceed, there is something you need to know." "You will not leave as a millionaire today," the lawyer said. "What do you mean?" he asked, as calm as possible. Well, there have been a few complications. For instance, there is no death certificate and— That's because of her, Bill yelled as he cut Mr. Hopfman off. She is the one withholding information, and now I have to suffer because of it? In fact, Isabella was actually just a pawn in all of this. Someone else entirely was the mastermind of this mind game played with Bill. Please sit down, the lawyer asked him. There is someone here to see you. All will become perfectly clear very soon, and you might be pleasantly surprised, too. Bill frowned. Why would he be pleasantly surprised? Suddenly, the door of the office opened, and the secretary walked in. She's here, she said, looking at Mr. Hopfman. Let her in, he answered. Let her in? Let who in? Bill asked. He looked at Isabella and at Mr. She packed her bags that same night and left Bill. Now, he was all alone and broke, with nothing to his name. It was what he deserved, and Monica didn't feel bad for him in the slightest. She only hoped he would be able to learn from his mistakes. The end.